In the past, South Park has taken aim at the Walt Disney Company and done so successfully. Direct hits with things like Winnie the Pooh and the China situation. Now, with just weeks before The Marvels hits the box office for perhaps the worst box office ever by a Marvel film, and not even close, way, way lower than any of the worst, South Park is taking aim once again. This time with South Park The Pandering, they may actually do real financial damage to the House of Mouse.
Oh my god! They killed Captain Marvel! Sweet!
Alright folks, it's a beautiful day out there. Even wherever you are, if it's not beautiful, trust me, it can be once more, and you're a part of making that so. And here we are to explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve. And how nice is it that we have Culture Casino to keep us ahead of that culture curve, as well as Spencer, who has been, of course, an integral part of one of the most important websites in keeping folks ahead of the culture curve, bounding into comics. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you.
Morning, morning.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. All right, well, we will delay no further. Here we go, straight into the article. This out of OutKick, folks. It's by Matt Regal. South Park releases hilarious teaser for new specials, goofs on recasting characters to pander to audiences. And it's already making people mad. South Park has unveiled a trailer for the show's latest special coming to Paramount Plus. Already in a mere 30 seconds, it has all the usual suspects blowing gaskets and clutching pearls. Also, let me say here, too, that the Paramount Plus people have got to be exceedingly happy they're getting South Park around this time of year, because Paramount Plus needs the hits, and South Park consistently gets in the top 10 overall total out of Nielsen on a budget that is tiny in comparison to what you see out of stuff like Ahsoka. So when South Park outperforms Ahsoka, remember, these budgets are not the same. The new special is called South Park Joining the Panderverse, and while I think you probably have a sense of where this is headed, take a quick gander at the trailer itself, and then we'll reconvene. Lest we get struck, and struckified here, we won't play it. But the essential idea here is that the boys, who are all four lightly skinned gentlemen, fourth graders, they are being replaced, except for Kyle, with recastings. I think Butters is also being recast. And so they're being recast as women of color. Now, this has garnered a little bit of hatred across the web from certain segments of the population. Let's start with Spencer today. Spencer, this creates a very interesting situation, because South Park was, they went after Donald Trump, right? I mean, they really did. They, they had him, Mr. What's the guy?
Mr. Garrison.
Mr. Garrison. That's right. And so they took him to task over and over, made entire seasons out of it, and the left loved it. Now that same side is displeased greatly that they're going to make fun of what we've been watching Disney do. So, Spencer, how is this going to play out?
So I think it's hilarious that this is happening, because it happens every single time, right? The neoliberals on the left, they applaud something. They say, this is the best. This is the greatest. Oh my gosh, you're taking shots at this group I don't like. Then all of a sudden the aim comes on them, and they go, whoa, wait a second. I can dish it, but I can't take it out. As to how this is going to affect them, I think you guys are the more money experts, but I think on a cultural level, I think that, the way South Park is able to communicate such complex ideas that, ideas that aren't so apparent on the surface to such a large, wide audience, I think they're going to blow open a huge, they're going to blow wide open all of Disney's, race swapping, they're pandering, all this fun stuff. It's going to be
the mental strategy.
Exactly, the mental strategy. It's going to be way more exposed now, and we're already seeing it become more and more public, more criticized. So this can only help, push us back to the realm of sanity.
Culture, any chance that Nelson Peltz himself is involved in this? I mean, this is a gift. This is a true gift to try and walk us through what could be the ramifications for Disney. How badly could this actually hurt Marvel, as this releases just mere weeks before Brie Larson reprises the role that made so many love her, that endeared her so well?
Well, I it wasn't just the role; it was her comments around it. But no, I think it is a gift to Tree and management, especially Nelson Peltz himself, as we head into a quarterly call that's going to be rather disappointing for many people. I think it's going to do some real damage to the Marvels, which is already in a very damaged state. If you pay attention to anybody following the numbers. And I think that what South Park does so brilliantly each and every time, and on this, the 326th episode, just premiering just 2 weeks, I think, both before we get the Marvels, you're getting something that's going to make very much fun of Disney, and specifically of everything they've been doing with their properties. I guarantee you that this isn't just going to hurt Disney and the Marvels. It's going to hurt a lot of other incredibly politically agenda-driven, social programming kinds of content out there. And I believe Spencer's right. I mean, people are waking up, but financially, this could take a real bite out of Marvels. You could see the Marvels do even worse than what the original projections were, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But I would say my guess is lower than even Valiant's number, but we can get into that later. But I think it is. I think you characterized it perfectly, saying this is quite the gift to the folks at Trian.
One of the things that South Park has done in the past is when they did the episodes on Winnie the Pooh being locked away in China and Disney willing to slaughter the poor bear in the effort to stay ingratiated with the party that is. Well, what that did is, folks like us, we've been talking about this for years. We've been saying, hey, this is a real problem. Our corporate leaders seem to be enslavering themselves to the kind of folks that you would not wish them to be subservient to. South Park comes out and distills that into a piece of iconography that then the masses consume, and then everybody suddenly knows, oh, Disney's in bed with bad people, and they'll do anything to stay in bed with bad people. And then you're like, well, good job, Trey Parker, Matt Stone. You've done something that we could not because you have a vehicle to do so. And so, well, let's just say that there are some outlets out there that are not happy about this. So let's walk through this. Again, this is still coming from OutKick, but it's about the AV Club. It says, AV Club is not pumped about new South Park special. It says it published a piece called There's a New South Park Event Teaser and We're Already So Tired. It's wordy, but it gets the point across. The brief piece announced the special's upcoming premiere. However, the writer also opined how people criticizing or just questioning this sort of thing gives them headaches. The Spider-Man referencing title suggests that the show will be offering its take on increasing calls for diversity in mainstream media. And hey, do you get these pounding headaches in front of your skull while watching this stuff? The writer's author, William Hughes, asked in a run-on sentence for the ages. Now the grammar police are out. We get these pounding headaches in front of our skull. Well, it seems some folks are certainly concerned that South Park's brand of satire, which rarely, if ever, misses, might shine a light on the ridiculousness of some of these over-the-top diversity casting decisions. Now, here's what's fascinated me from a philosophical standpoint. And it might seem a little odd that we are going into a philosophical realm, but I think it's appropriate here. I think I know the answer to why those who like South Park sometimes and dislike it at other times, why that is. Here's what I think is going on. On the moderates and the right, I think they still believe in factual truth. And so when South Park hits on stuff, they either laugh with it or they think that they got it wrong. But they don't. That's how they judge South Park and its satire is. Did South Park get it right? Did South Park get it wrong? If they get it right, that's really funny. If it's wrong, it's kind of gross. But on the far tinges, and I guess the Twitterazzi out there that we've watched, yeah, exactly. They don't believe in truth. They believe in narrative. And so that the way that they view South Park is, did it further my narrative? Did it mock those who I wish to be lesser than me? Or is it mocking myself? Because if it's mocking anything that is part of my narrative, any part of my power struggle, if it's mocking those who I view are oppressed in any way, then South Park is in the wrong, because it's all about power. And it's all about who are you satirizing that's in power or not in power. So, Spencer, I have a feeling that the fringes, who are less fringy every day, I think they're about to freak out.
I mean, absolutely. You hit on it right there. The key point is that they on that neoliberal fringes, they're all narrative based. So the fact when you get something like South Park that isn't afraid to obviously go against the narrative, to expose the narrative, to call out, the more ridiculous elements of a given narrative, the second that happens and it's out of their control, that's when that freak out happens. I think it's less about, is it making fun of the people we want to make fun of, and more, can we see this pushing our agenda in any way? It doesn't necessarily have to take a swing at somebody else, but how many times have we seen, oh, you can't have this character doing this because it reinforces X stereotype, Y stereotype, that kind of thing. The best example I always come up with is Kevin Feige during Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where he straight up decided not to have Doc Strange show up, or in WandaVision, sorry. He decided not to have Doc Strange show up in WandaVision because he didn't want the white man telling the woman what to do and how to handle her powers. And that's sort of what I think they're going to freak out about more, is that you're going to have this counter narrative out there that we can't control, and it's not saying the talking points we want to say. Get it out of there. Wrong think, all that fun stuff, gone.
And, that's why I think that we get this sort of cyclical system where South Park, with that side of the ideological spectrum, they're either loved or loathed. And on the other side of the ideological spectrum, and then also with the normies, they just say, oh, South Park's cool. I didn't like that episode, but I still love South Park.
Right.
The other side, though, it swings to these extremes because, when Orange Man bad, they're totally on board. And then when it digs at them, they despise it and it's evil and should be taken off the air.
I mean, it's the classic insecurity move. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's the classic insecurity move of, I can make fun of you all I want, but the second you make fun of me, I can't handle it. Like, don't touch it. Like, that's how they operate. They operate like children. It's very much just immaturity run wild. They can't.
And partially, Spencer, that's because that as children mature, part of what we are supposed to mature to is a recognition that the truth matters so much that ideally you would try to tell the truth even when it is opposed to your own immediate self-interest. Right. And that goes back to delayed gratification. We'll have a long talk about delayed gratification in this afternoon's video with Robert Meyer Burnett, which is one of the deepest conversations I've ever had. I think folks will love it. That's right. But yeah, so that's the maturing process. And there's one side that has digressed now to the point that maturity has been thrown out the window. It's not only with this, what we're talking about in terms of delayed gratification, it's and with identifying the truth, but this regression is also in terms of they don't care necessarily about art. You'll see them defacing art on a regular basis, and that's all part of a means to an end. And you just see so much of this where we have went back to tribalism, for example. We now believe it's appropriate to segregate, and all of that just seems to me to be stepping backwards and sometimes running backwards. Culture, let me show you what is happening over in the Twitter sphere regarding South Park, the pandering. And I think you're going to see that this is rather what we would expect and what we've been talking about. We've got one that says, being South Park, the message is going to be that pandering is fine and good, even but characters shouldn't be changed to the point they're no longer what they're meant to represent. Okay, 7,700 views on that one. And, that one's saying they're going to try to have their cake and eat it too. They're going to try to go down the middle. We'll see. We've got another one that says, the sheer irony of South Park stands praising the show for pandering to them when the series special is literally called into the panderverse before it even airs. Media literacy is non-existent on this social media platform. We've got this one that's been, quote, right-wing South Park watchers are like, la, la, la. Yes, my dearest, South Park is making fun of race-bending precious white characters. We won't say the rest of that one. South Park is good because they are making fun of all sides. They say that having black characters is pandering. You can see that's being taking that on. We've got this person who says, I love South Park, but having a woman or a person of color lead cast characters isn't pandering. Sometimes they just exist, And so it keeps going and going. You get all of these takes kind Culture, how do you think this plays out? Does this devolve into sort of a culture war kind of thing, in addition, or do you think South Park dings them enough that some people wake up?
Well, I think that people will wake up. And once again, I think people are waking up across the entire spectrum. I think people are realizing that they are going to have to abandon this idea of there's no truth but power. They'll have to get back to actual truth in their lives. And I think this is one of those things, because South Park's been such a touchstone for so many people. And it does play on both sides of the line, and it does point out the hypocrisy that exists everywhere. And this is just pointing out more hypocrisy. The weird thing is that in the Twitter examples that you showed, there's a lot of cope, as the kids would call it.
Daily dose of copium, eh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and they're taking an awful lot of it here, trying to think that this is going to be anything but what it will be, calling out, the massive hypocrisy that exists on their side of the equation. And narratively, this is not going to speak to certain parties that are just so invested emotionally in their particular perspective. And that's the biggest problem I think we've been suffering from, and why we've seen so many adult temper tantrums, even in government, even in positions of authority. Because because you want something to be true, doesn't mean that it is true. I mean, I would love to be and want to be a billionaire, and I can certainly act like one for a limited period of time. But it doesn't make it true. So ultimately, and of course, that's an argument absurdum. But I think that
not anymore. It's not, because we're inundated with ab absurdum.
Indeed, but I fully expect. I fully expect this to take out some newly grown sacred calves that is going to frustrate one particular group of humans and satisfy and wake others. And I think that's something that we sorely need in the world. We need more of it. We also need trolls like the Snow White thing, which I'm sure you've already talked
about. Yes. Well, the fascinating thing to me too is that we're talking about entertainment. We're talking about the philosophical belief in either truth. You might think of it as logos versus, which, by the way, logos means articulated truth. It's a Latin word. You're going to go back to the Greeks and the Romans to hit on that one. But there's a world out there that believes in the logos. There's a world out there that believes in narrative and power. And we're talking about that in regards to South Park and in regards to Disney. In the real world, though, the way that this plays out is that entertainment, it nudges people, or it flavors people to go to one side or the other, but it has major pragmatic ramifications in the real world. We're watching that play out daily. Yesterday, there was a big story out of one of the world conflicts, probably the most dangerous world conflict, and it had to do with where something had struck. And immediately, there were people who jumped to this one conclusion just because it was said to be so. And what amazed me about that was, and I don't know that I was amazed. I'm rather ready for people to get everything wrong so quickly. But what amazes me is that there was a time when we knew that the information that came out of situations like that is in a fog. And now we don't know that anymore. And now whatever is the first take on something gets propagated all throughout social media, and it creates these real world ramifications where people are then, protesting and attacking and doing bad things. And it's all based on information that literally came out 5 seconds ago on my phone, and it must be real. And it's like, probably from neither side, or anybody, is the truth immediately known when there's an emergency. That's just, it's almost
Absolutely,
never.
Yeah.
And that, I guess that's also where there's one side is at a disadvantage, because if you believe in the truth is hard, and it takes time to get the truth. And if you believe in narrative and power, well, that's really easy, because you just have to go out and shout, South Park is terrible, it's evil, it's just, it's an ism. So, well, here's a truth, though, because the world still runs on truth, whether we like it or not. The Hulk from 2008, gentlemen, 36,768,802 tickets sold. Now, I have heard how badly the Marvels is going to perform in terms of money. But I'm here to tell you that based on inflation, when you check out tickets that are likely to be sold based on the projections, it's far worse. So again, The Hulk, the worst Marvel movie of all time in terms of box office, 2008, 36 million tickets sold. The Marvels, how many tickets are likely to be sold based on current projections in the absolute best case scenario? We told it to you yesterday. It's 16 million. That's a 57% drop. A 57% drop from the worst Marvel movie for attendance ever. So if you wonder why Disney might be quaking in their little mouse boots about South Park and the chance that it even drives this in more, the Marvels is already in, what would you say, catastrophe status, I would say. Gentlemen, final thoughts on South Park and the Marvels. Tell me what you think as we wrap up here today. How bad is it, and where do we wind up at?
Yeah, Culture, do you want to take it away? You want to start?
Well, I think it's amazing that a show such as South Park, an animation oriented around the adult perspectives of the world, the satirical retelling of the world around us, I think it's amazing it lasted as long as it has since 1997. We're 326 episodes deep. And it's, I don't know, the fifth, sixth special. I think this is the sixth special.
One of the most relevant shows still on television, period.
Yeah, and at certain points in time, much like The Simpsons, it has predicted the future. It seems even prescient at times. And I think that it speaks to something broader. And I think that I think that the fact that they are actually attacking this mind virus the way that they are is brilliant with this particular episode, because we already know where they're headed, whether or not, some people want to admit that on Twitter. But I think that going after, these types of things will only preserve something like South Park, will continue to allow it to exist, because if the particular mind virus wins, then you don't get a free thought anymore. You don't get the free expression anymore. And I think that it's in South Park's best interest to do exactly what it's doing. And I can't.
It may be in our best interest that South Park continue doing what it's doing, and that includes offending all of us at times. And South Park has put out episodes that I have watched and thought, that went too far on that. That was not, But I think it's equal opportunity offense.
Yeah,
100%.
Spencer, do we live in a world where we can still offend, or is that over?
Oh,
or is South Park saving us?
That world's long past us. What are you talking about? No, I'm kidding. So my final two takeaways on this topic actually link. I want to call back to some things that you guys were saying, because on the one hand, I want to like what you were saying, WW Pro, or why did I call you that? What you were saying, Pro, about the first narrative always being the one that gets adopted, that gets propagated, that gets spread out.
Right, without any critical thinking.
Right, exactly. And that's sort of what you're saying here, in that, on its face, you hear all these calls for, oh, we need more diversity. We need more, give more people opportunity. And on its face, all these calls of diversity or whatever, they sound very enticing. They go, or not enticing, but fair, fine, whatever, understandable. But it's always more sinister. Now we have South Park having sat this particular topic out for the last 5 or 6 years or so, having that time to have taken it all in, gotten their facts straight, seen how it all plays out. Now they can come and go, hey, that first narrative you pushed out, it's not going to work. Like it's full of it. There's nothing here. And that's what they're terrified of. And second, I like the fact that you guys have kept using the specific term of waking up in this capacity. Will people wake up to this pandering nonsense, to the race swapping nonsense, blah, blah, blah. Because the one thing we haven't really touched upon in this capacity is that South Park is responsible for taking down one of the biggest, let's say, sci-fi groups of all time. It blew their organization wide open. Their membership numbers crumbled after a certain episode where Stan becomes a writer aired. And so if you want to talk about waking up and cult mentality, they've done it once before. I'm absolutely sure they can do it again.
And let's just say here too, folks, that when we're talking about the pandering, what we're talking about, this goes back to that first knee-jerk reaction that some folks out there have. The easy way to look at this is, oh, South Park is against having representation in shows. Oh, it's gonna fuel the folks out there who bigoted and bad. What pandering actually is when you take a particular character and you lazily swap it with another race, ethnicity, gender, etc., and you don't spend the time to give that character the backstory, the interesting attributes or characterizations that would make it a worthwhile and fully developed character. And that is what companies like Disney have been doing, because it's easier and cheaper and it's lazy to be able to just simply do the mantle strategy, where instead of having exciting characters who are female, exciting characters who are of various ethnicities, you just say, oh, we need more women. Girl Loki. Oh, man, that wasn't enough women yet. We need girl Thor. Oh, that's still not enough women. She-Hulk.
Girl Darth Vader.
That's right, exactly. And so, folks, what I think South Park is saying is, rather than joining in the knee-jerk reaction of, they just don't like women. Oh, they just don't like anybody who doesn't look like them. Consider for a moment that the corporations might actually not be doing the right thing and might not be doing justice for any of us. How about that? Consider it.
Shock.
I know. All right, folks. If you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. This is not a conversation between three people. No, this is a opportunity for all of you. So hop in. We cover your comments. We care about what you think, and that even includes if you believe that we're in the wrong. Throw us your thoughts, your critiques, because it's all appreciated here, because we are striving to get closer to the truth, not form a narrative. And that means if you can poke a hole in it, we're ready, and we'll do a follow-up video if so needed. Culture, where can we find you on this great, big, beautiful web out there?
I made it very simple. You can just look for Culture Casino on YouTube, Rumble, Minds, Odyssey, Getter, and, of course, the platform formerly known as Twitter, X.
And Spencer, where are you?
Yeah, you can find me daily on boundingintocomics.com. Check us out for all your daily entertainment news. We've got stuff going up all the time. You can find me on Twitter at KabutoWriterMav. And personally, you can find me on YouTube on my own channel at youtube.com/@StudioKabuto.
Links are in the description for the video down below, folks. So go click on them and find these two awesome gentlemen and everything that they're doing across the web. It matters. Folks, we try to give you a video that matters today. We started with South Park. We talked about the ramifications for Disney. Somehow we ended up at the philosophies of truth and logos versus narrative and power. I hope it was worthwhile and it made your life better. That's what we strive to do each and every day. And as we outro here, here's what we say. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
I'm the ghost of Star Wars.
You know what would be a real treat this Halloween? Checking out WDW Pro. He's got all the sweet news on his Thursday live show at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Not to mention, his daily videos are a real treat.
Guys, I'm the ghost of Star Wars. Get it?
You know, we should go and make sure we're subscribed.
Guys, I'm the ghost of Star Wars.
And while we're at it, we'll ring that bell to make sure we're notified.
Great, let's go. Because, well, we actually care about that. Let's go.
Fact. Star Wars is not dead. It's haunting the staffs of Disney Plus. Osimo says to subscribe to WDW Pro. Oh, I already have Osimo.